Clear is greater than clever. I thought titles were clever because I looked at 4-Hour Workweek and I was like, oh, that's so clever, right? But that's not what it is. You don't want them to say, what is that? You want them to say, how do I get that?
Think Media Podcast. I am so fired up for today's episode with Rory Vaden. Now, if you're just meeting Rory, he's the New York Times bestselling author of multiple books that are definitely worth checking out. Procrastinate on Purpose, Take the Stairs. But he's also started multiple 7- and 8-figure companies. He's an expert in personal branding and helping you clarify and monetize your message. And he's a world-class human being, family man, leader. He works with some of the best and the brightest influencers that you would know. And today he's going to be breaking down insights on how we can title our projects better. Titles are so important. He actually shared these tips with me in Nashville at his headquarters. And we learned about the 5 title tests. So we have a lot to cover today on the podcast. So buckle your seatbelts. And Rory, welcome back to the podcast. Nice. How's it going today?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm fired up. And I will say this right up front. We have never shared the content we're going to share here at this depth in a free training ever. This is usually something we teach for the members, and those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, you can see the backyard, which is where you were, Sean. You were over here at the house, and we were having a casual conversation among friends, and this topic came up mostly from the most expensive marketing mistake I ever have made in my life. And I say everything is we. My wife and I built our former company together. We sold that in 2018. It was a roll up of 5 different P&Ls that were all 7-figure businesses. AJ is my co-founder at Brand Builders Group. She's the CEO of the company. Also my wife, mother of our 2 boys. And so we do everything together. But this content around titles is particularly important because it's heartbreaking. Like for me personally, this is the most expensive mistake that I've ever made in terms of a technical mistake, because I didn't understand what makes a great title, which is what we were talking about in the Vaden Villa backyard. And then you were like, dude, we're going to make this into a podcast. So never been shared before.
Well, I'm fired up, and I don't want to take too long before we get into it, but I think some context around why this was even a conversation, and to see it a little bit on the podcast, Heather Torres is releasing her first book in probably the first quarter of 2022. So that's something to get ready for. And that's, when you're thinking about writing a book, you're thinking about, man, how do I come up with a good book title? And you're like, well, there's actually title tests. And I was like, well, what are the tests? And you're like, well, there's 5 of them. But if you're listening to the podcast today, it might not be a book that you want to write, but maybe you even want to make a title for a compelling freemium or lead magnet that you want everyone to download. Maybe you want to name an online course or a mini course that you create. And there could be the difference between a name that just really creates interest and gets people pumped, or it just kind of falls flat and doesn't sound that interesting. Maybe you're trying to name your YouTube channel, or maybe you're trying to name a show on your YouTube channel or a podcast. This podcast is just called our brand name, the Think Media Podcast. But recently I was listening to an episode where they were brainstorming names, and there was a vegan content creator, and they're like, what if you called your show The Vegan Wars? Or what if you called your show The Yummy Vegan? And they were going through naming different brands when it comes to social media or shows within our brands is an incredibly important aspect of what we do. And so let's get into the test, Rory. What's the first test?
Yeah. So the first test is called the I want blank test, and it is the simplest, and we believe the single most profound test. It's this simple. And when I tell you, you're going to be like, no way. But I'm telling you, we analyze titles. We have clients on the New York Times bestseller list. We're watching titles constantly. And again, this points back to the biggest mistake that I've ever made in my life, which I'll fill you in on as we kind of go. But the first test is so simple, is you just take your title and you insert it at the end of this phrase, I want blank. If you can take your title or your proposed title and drop it in at the end of that sentence, and if it's a, oh, hell yeah, then that's a great title. But if it is a, what does that mean? If it is a, no, that doesn't make sense. If it is, or if it's not something that you want, it doesn't work. And some of the greatest book titles, and, you know, Brand Builders Group, we do one-on-one coaching for brands. And so we help people with, like, you know, book launches is one of the things that comes up in their course of their time with us. So it's not just for books specifically, but if you just think about books, the single greatest title that we will probably see in the history of our lifetime is 4-Hour Work Week. I want a 4-hour work week. Everybody gets it. That applies to everybody. It is super clear on exactly what it is. But there's lots of examples to this, Sean. So you've got, there are hundreds of thousands of Bible devotionals, like daily devotionals that have been created. But the one that sold tens of millions of copies, Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. I want a purpose-driven life. I want The Secret. I want to win friends and influence people. I want good to great. I want to think and grow rich. That's amazing. I don't even have to do anything. I could just think and grow rich. It's epic. This goes on and on and on. Dave Ramsey, I want financial peace. Robert Cialdini, I want influence. T. Harv Eker, I want Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Tony Robbins released one of his more recent books, I Want Money. Like, the title of the book is called Money, and it is, I want 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I want the happiest baby on the block. Like, if you're a mom, you know, with a baby, you've heard of this book, The Happiest Baby on the Block. I want blank. Well, with my second book, the book is what we did was we released that we had strategically planned to release my TED Talk at the same time my book came out. And we thought, oh man, if we could have a viral TED Talk that went with the book right at the same time, that would be the ultimate. Here's what happened. They both came out at the same time, same messenger, same exact content. My TED Talk went viral. We have like 4 million views. I do get hired a lot for speaking off of it, but my book doesn't sell that well. I mean, we've sold 30,000 units or something through retail, but much less than our first book, Take the Stairs. And why? Well, Procrastinate on Purpose is the name of the book. I thought it was so clever. I was like, oh, no one's ever heard that. It's so intriguing. It's you know, like you're going to go like, what is that? Like, I can't believe that. Like, what is that? But when they asked me for the title of the TED Talk, I didn't even think about it. They just said, what's it about? And I said, oh, how to multiply time. Well, I want to multiply time. Hell yeah. It's the one thing everybody wants. And we literally figured out how to multiply time. Like, it's not an exaggeration. It's a world-changing view on time management. But I want to procrastinate on purpose. Doesn't pass the test. Nobody wants to procrastinate. We want the opposite of procrastination. We want action, like we want results. We want progress. It is so simple. Just take whatever you're thinking of your title, drop it in. I want blank. If it passes, you're 90% of the way there.
saber qué es lo que fui. No me levanto de la cama las noches la policía sigue mis sueños.
I'm looking for the train station. It's 2 blocks up and then you turn right. No, I don't think so. Hold on a second.
Right away, we're into it. So that's a yes for Saturday or a no?
I will be there.
All right, I'll play. So long. Glad to have you back. Love you.
Dance, all in a trance, all around the world. 'Cause I want to. One time for the girls that's marching forward. 2 times for the boys that's walking forward. 3 times for the ones do what they want to. Each time when I'm undo what I want to. All the things I want, no need to hide from. No need to hide from. Set my soul on fire from. All the things I want, I'm willing to die for. Die for. I can do what I want to. I'm so nonchalant to. We global from LA to Paris, São Paulo. Eu faço o que eu quero. Eu sou muito louco. Tô no mundo inteiro. São Paulo pro topo. You're perfect. I'm not working. You're perfect. All around the world. You're perfect. I'm not working. You're perfect. All around the all around the you're perfect. I'm not working. You're perfect. All around
Okay, never mind. I got it.
Un elixir a mis heridas. Un elixir a mis heridas.
Five. And so if you can pass all 5 tests, because probably I think about, and we could talk about this live here. What do you think about YouTube secrets? I mean, I want YouTube secrets. I do. I probably want the secrets of YouTube. Is that pretty good?
Yeah, here's why. So that's actually a good fit, Sean, to the second test, which is the clarity test. Okay, so I want YouTube secrets. If you take these 5 title tests, you could basically score each of them individually, which is what we will do for our clients. Like, we will give them a grade on each of these, and then we'll come up with an average grade, and we'll go, this is how we think this title will perform, and it's shockingly accurate. But the second test is called the clarity test. It's this simple. The more a title needs to be explained, the less effective it is. And procrastinate on purpose, okay, to use myself as a horrible case study again, right? The book is not about procrastinating. The book is about how to multiply time. I'll tell you, the premise of the whole book and TED Talk is this. You multiply time by spending time on things today that create more time tomorrow. That's how you multiply time. You spend time on things today that create more time tomorrow. Well, procrastinate on purpose is one of the 5 techniques, because if you can procrastinate on the trivial stuff, the stupid stuff, then that creates margin for yourself that you can then use to reallocate into the things that multiply your time, the things you spend time on today that give you more time tomorrow. Okay? The fact that it just took me 37 seconds to explain what procrastinate on purpose means doesn't mean the concept's bad. It's a righteous concept. It means it sucks as a title. On the other hand, when I say multiply your time, what do you think that book is about? There is no confusion. It's completely clear. And if you're taking notes, here's what I want you to write down. This is the big lesson on this one. Clear is greater than clever. Clear is greater than clever. I thought titles were clever because I looked at 4-Hour Work Week and I was like, oh, that's so clever, right? But that's not what it is. It's not about it clever. It's about being clear. You don't want people to say, what is that? See, I actually accomplished the objective I set out with procrastinate on purpose. People read it and they go, that's interesting. What is that? I've never heard of that. But that's not what you want them to do. So I accomplished the objective. I just accomplished the wrong objective. The objective is not to get them to say, wow, what is that? I've never heard of that, or that's different, or that's unique or interesting. You don't want them to say, what is that? You want them to say, how do I get that? So you don't want a title to be intriguing. You want a title to be enticing. And that was how we failed the second test, which was the clarity test. So we were automatically off to a bad start with the title, procrastinate on purpose. And that's, this is why the book isn't selling as well.
And would you say, because I love that, on your personal brand, your business, anything online, if you confuse, you lose. Clarity is power.
That's a Donald Miller. If you confuse, you lose. That's a Donald Miller. Yep.
And if you want... Clever is good. Would you say clever is good if it's not at the sacrifice of clarity? Because 4-Hour Work Week is clever, but it's still completely clear as far as what it's about. So if you could do both, should you try to do both?
I think it's possible, but what I would say is don't pursue clever. Like, clever is not by pursuing clever, all you're going to do is risk clarity, and you're not going to gain that much. Instead of pursuing intriguing, pursue enticing. 4-Hour Work Week works not because it's clever. It works because it's enticing. We all want a 4-Hour Work Week. Here's another way of thinking